And we're off and underway. Here comes the chase behind. This is a good move now. Lining himself up for the sprint. Is he going to take the stage? Yes, he is.
Hello and welcome. Do not let the boats fool you. Yes, we're at a marina, but we are in the middle of Newark, right on the River Trent, for the finish of today's Stage 4 of the Tour of Britain. Yesterday, though, in Yorkshire, Olaf Koy was sitting on a hat-trick. So, could he seal the deal as they raced into Beverley? The start of Stage 3 of this year's Tour of Britain in Goole saw 94 riders line up on the start line, including Fernando Gaviria of Movistar and Tobias Andersson of Team DSM after their crashes yesterday. Early on, a break of 3 riders got up the road. That man, James Fouché, again in the hunt for King of the Mountains points, joined by Nicholas Sessler and Harry Tanfield, once again animating the race. The KOM point in Towthorpe Lane was won by James Fouché to tighten his grip on the King of the Mountains jersey.
An understandable accord has been struck between these 3 riders.
And Jos van Emden led the peloton over the summit soon after. Leader Harry Tanfield had time to wave to his own car, which a friend had kindly parked by the side of the road during the breakaway. And there was a repeat performance at the second KOM point in Langtoft.
James Fouché duly picks up another 4 points.
Fouché, Sessler and Tanfield going over in that order, with Van Emden once again leading the peloton over it. At Bridlington, the riders turned right and started heading along the coast, and Tanfield was the first to cross the line at the sprint in Skipsea, but Fouché was caught soon after. Then the attacks started to come thick and fast off the front of the peloton. St Piran tried a 3-up and they managed to get across to the 2 leaders with a lead of 30 seconds. It then caused a very aggressive chase by Wout van Aert and the Jumbo-led peloton.
Wout van Aert starts to motor.
And it all came back together outside of 30 kilometres to go. After several more attacks, including from Ineos Grenadiers, Niels Pollitt and Matt Bostock got up the road as Beverley hoved into view.
Koy waiting, poised to pull the trigger. He's approaching the line. Koy makes it 3 out of 3. The man is perfection at this Tour of Britain.
3 out of 3 means Olaf Koy stays on top, but all change behind him. Danny van Poppel is in second place on the podium, and Max Canter of Movistar in third. Ethan Vernon, the highest placed British rider, now moving up to 4th place on GC. I'm here now on the finishing straight with David Miller once more. And David, 3 and 3 for Olaf Koy. Getting a little bit repetitive, but still quite an exciting finish there into Beverley.
Yeah, wasn't it? Put Olaf Koy under the most pressure we've seen yet. You could see when he crossed the line, the relief, the physical relief, he was doing that hand sign. But I mean, what's most exceptional with Jumbo-Visma is the fact they're replicating that lead out every day. And you'd think surely they can't do it 4 days in a row, but we'll see.
And what about Bora Hansgrohe? We've talked about them a bit. We thought it was Sam Bennett up there at the end, but it wasn't. It was Danny van Poppel, who's meant to be his lead-out man. What's going on? Yeah, that was strange that Sam Bennett wasn't anywhere to be seen. And in a way, that's probably good for Danny van Poppel because it redeems himself after the previous day. But yeah, they're kind of struggling. They're on the back foot compared to Jumbo-Visma, and they really need to turn that around. Also someone who's doing really well, improving their position day on day, is Ethan Vernon in the Great Britain team. Let's hear about them now.
Lots of ups and downs, like small climbs, nothing major that anyone needs to worry about, but we're all anticipating another bunch sprint today.
For me, the key thing is we're getting better and better every day, not just in terms of like results, but just the performance of the lads. We're here to develop, and every day we're developing, and you know the lads are all learning, and yeah, we're moving forward every day.
Jack, I want you to look for a break. Worst case scenario, you're in something, and if it's not the right one, I'll just ask you to sit up and come back. Noah, you've been riding really well coming into these finishes and like scrapping well and like positioning well. So I want you to almost approach today like you're racing to win.
Great Britain looking round, trying to get Ethan Vernon into the optimal place.
My role is similar to Josh. We both help try and position Ethan into the last K in the best possible position. Normally I'm the sprinter in my team, but obviously Ethan's very quick, so it's my job in this race.
Josh, your key role to deliver Noah with Ethan in his wheel, that 2.5K, that double left corner.
Having Ethan here is really good to have his experience, and he can talk us through that like final 5 kilometres where me and Noah, we're the crucial guys to help Ethan in the final.
It's great to be with these lads, and they're a few years younger than me, so I was there a few years ago, and it's nice to put back into GB what they invested in me a few years ago.
As every day, when you pull on this jersey, there's a pretty big level of expectation that brings with it. Like, there might be some big teams here, but you boys have got the Great Britain jersey on, and we can definitely win a stage at this bike race. You just keep doing what you're doing, lads, keep having fun, and get our hands up, hopefully.
Really is one of the best bits about the Tour of Britain is you get those smaller teams, you get a GB team who aren't really used to riding together, but they are starting to gel as the week goes on. David, let's talk about today. A little bit cloudy here in the East Midlands, but what can we expect from the racing, do you think?
Well, in theory, we can expect exactly what we've seen in the previous 3 days. But at the same time, yesterday, I think what we saw was really interesting in the final third of the race, starting with the St. Piran move of the 3 riders, and then that triggered a whole wave of attacks. And I'd like to think that inspires more action today, because I think if the peloton follows the normal protocol, they can't beat Jumbo-Visma. They've got to find alternative tactics, race innovatively. So fingers crossed we're going to see some of that today.
It was good that it sparked not just the peloton into life, but Ineos Grenadiers, Bora Hansgrohe, Movistar. They sort of woke up a bit then, didn't they?
Yeah, they did, and it was really interesting to see the World Tour teams being so active. And Gonzalez Serrano, last year's winner, it was really good to see him being so proactive, and as well as Ineos Grenadiers as a whole. So I think that's going to inspire everybody else, because if the World Tour teams start doing that, then that's a license for everybody to race.
Let's hope they start to animate it today on today's Route 4 in Robin Hood country. Here's a closer look. The Tour's 4th visit to Nottinghamshire inside just 7 years represents another chance for the sprinters. Despite being the 3rd longest stage of this year's race, the route features a little over 1,200 metres of climbing. After the first climb at Kilton Hill, the race loops around and then drops south towards the sprint at Broughton, before the 2nd KOM at Red Hill Lane. The last 85k sees the peloton snake through the Nottinghamshire countryside before the winner of the race's 2nd visit to Newark-on-Trent is crowned close to the banks of its famous river. The woodlands of Sherwood Forest are home to the legendary Robin Hood. With hundreds of species of flora and fauna as well, the country park is also a site of special scientific interest. Wooded for centuries, Sherwood is home to hundreds of ancient oaks which have thrived for more than 500 years. Along the route, the peloton will pass the West Burton Power Station, which will soon be home to the groundbreaking STEP prototype fusion energy plant, creating a low-carbon and sustainable supply with potential to help sustain net zero in the future. The stage itself will finish in the thriving market town of Newark-on-Trent, adjacent to Sconce and Devon Park, an historic green flag awarded park, open grassland and woodlands, as well as family-friendly footpaths. Right here on the finishing straight in Newark with John O'Day from British Cycling. John, good to see you again here on the race. A busy time for you because we're just coming off the back of an amazing World Championships, combined World Championships in Glasgow, and of course we're now firmly in the Olympic cycle heading towards Paris next year.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, well, first of all, it's fantastic to be here in lovely weather in lovely Newark. But yeah, it's been a great, I guess, summer off the back of Glasgow and Scotland in the Cycling World Championships. Extraordinary success from our athletes across all disciplines as well, which has been brilliant to see. And I think importantly at this point in the cycle as well, looking ahead to Paris, Olympic and Paralympics, it looks like we're in really good shape.
We should be. We love our cycling here in Britain. We've done so well with it previously. But looking at the domestic scene, it's been challenging really for the racing for the past couple of years, hasn't it?
Oh yeah, there's no doubt. There's no doubt, Matt. It's a really challenging time. It's a tough climate at the moment for the domestic scene. But it's a time when everyone needs to come together and support it as well. That's really important. And what we feel is we've taken some really positive steps in setting up an elite domestic task force with some really skilled, experienced people to come together to help us try and build for the future and recover the domestic sport, which of course is so important to us.
It really is important. We've seen with the crowds turning out this week. I mean, the weather helps, of course, but they love their cycling. We know here in Newark, this is the second time in recent years we've had a finish here. People love turning out and seeing it and getting inspired to ride their own bikes.
Oh yeah, it's been absolutely incredible so far this week. I was in the car all day yesterday, and the numbers of people around the roadside, on the roadside, was just phenomenal. The weather clearly helps, but I think people just love coming out to see this race and other major events like it. It's just absolutely fantastic. And this sport has got so much to offer so many people. So I'm really optimistic about the future.
Really has. John, good to see you. Thanks very much indeed. We love the racing as well. So let's get straight to it now. Your commentary team for today's Stage 4 is Ned Bolting and David Miller.
Thank you very much, Matt. They roll off the start line. A couple of Ineos Grenadiers there, not actually completing the full race distance by the look of it. They were 1 or 2 bike lengths in front of the actual start line, but I think we can turn a blind eye to that. Certainly the race director, Mick Bennett, appears to have done that. As Sam Bennett looks like he's the last rider to go over the start line in the colours of Bora Hansgrohe. And they'll be an interesting team to watch today. There's Tom Pidcock in conversation with Connor Swift. Alongside him, Ben Turner. 3 Yorkshiremen all in a row. Notice we've got a change in the white jersey wearer. The man who sits in second place in that competition is right on the bumper of the race director's car. So we've got a new white jersey, wearing it admittedly on loan from Olaf Koy, because he's in second place in the young riders classification. And it's the Dutchman Casper van Ouden, who is the nominated sprinter for Team DSM Firmenich. Ahead of us is kilometre 0. And it looks like the bunch is all together and we should be able to get underway punctually. The flag drops on kilometre 0 and we're underway. It's 166.6 kilometres today, heading out from the Sherwood Forest region to a finish not that far away as the crow flies, but 166.6 kilometres according to the race route in Newark. All strung out then. TDT Unibet, the first team to attack.
Yeah, immediately seeing a bit more activity from the peloton. Previous days we've seen almost the first attacks be the successful ones, so it's good to see a lot of teams interested immediately. Fouché there, ever active, that first climb of the day after only 15 kilometres, so he's going to want to make sure he's in that first move.
Great Britain on the offensive, and James Fouché following the wheels on this one. Not Harry Tanfield, one of his Tanfield's teammates, TDT Unibet, almost inevitably. And there is James Shaw. He has, true to his word, exactly where he said he'd be, just waiting for the race to come by him. So an interested onlooker.
This is definitely a much more action-packed start to the stage. Fouché doing a great job, just covering everything. But I think a lot of riders, knowing that not a big climb, but it's a climb all the same. 15 Ks is the summit, 14.9. That's where a lot of riders will be thinking of launching then.
Yeah, 11 kilometres time is the start of Kilton Hill. It's only 1 kilometre in length and average graded to 3.5%. But it is the first categorised climb. It's the first target for James Fouché, who finds himself off the front with a rider from TDT Unibet. And they've got a bit of a lead.
This is where riders will start to sense if they don't go now, they won't make it.
4 riders off the front. Yeah, you can see that yellow jersey there of, not sure who it is, possibly Nathan van Hooijdonk, I think, from the Jumbo-Visma team. TDT Unibet now, one big move. Abraham Stockman just easing off, and James Fouché will probably ease off as well. So 3 is a more manageable breakaway than just the 2.
Yeah, it's a bit of a tricky situation there because Stockman doesn't want to let up too much because they are precariously sitting off the front of that peloton. This is what they need. You see Jumbo-Visma just coming up, trying to block the road in his Grenadiers as well. TDT have a rider there, so all those riders across the front are very happy with this staying the way it is. So there you can see they have now blocked the road completely.
You do sense that those 2 riders from Flanders Balois wanted to attack, but they can't. They can't find it. Is not, is it?
It is.
Yes, it is. 3rd breakaway for Harry Tanfield in 4 stages. If this is the one that sticks, he's done it. He's made the junction. So, Abraham Stockman, who we've seen in a breakaway, and Harry Tanfield, as well as James Fouché, it's the usual suspects. And hats off to TDT Unibet for getting 2 for 66% of the breakaway in their colours. On to the first categorised climb of the day then, Kilton Hill. It's just inside 1 kilometre in length, so it's not particularly long and it's not particularly steep. And for that reason, it's only a Category 3 climb with a maximum of 4 points at the top, 3.5% the average gradient. A fractional advantage of 11 seconds at the moment as the peloton now hit the climb 2. And James Fouché has a tangible reward in the black jersey there just a few hundred metres up the road, and the possibility of him extending his advantage over Zeb Kiffin by a further 4 points.
And once again, it's all the World Tour teams in the front, Ineos Grenadiers, DSM, Jumbo-Visma, Bora-Hansgrohe. So Bora-Hansgrohe are contributing to this World Tour shutdown of the peloton.
Movistar as well, playing that role with one rider on the front. Time gap should go out again. Abraham Stockman gets onto the front. Harry Tanfield in the middle of this trio of riders, a little bit steeper towards the top. Now then, is this going to be a race, or is Fouché going to be allowed these points unopposed?
Oh, I presume it would be unopposed. He's not taking any risks though, Fouché.
Yeah. Round he comes. The two riders from TDT Unibet understand the score. James Fouché picks up 4 points and moves to 29 points, and now he is, 15 points ahead of Zeb Kiffin in second place, although Harry Tanfield actually supplants Zeb Kiffin, and he moves into second place now by picking up 3 points there. Tanfield goes above Zeb Kiffin with one more categorised climb remaining, the climb of Red Hill Lane, but that's not until 85 kilometres to go. Are Uno X done? Over the top goes the peloton. 24 seconds is the time gap. So theoretically, it's still possible to get across to the front of the race, but they're slowing right up now. Almost put the anchors on completely in the bunch.
Yeah, it's amazing to see all those World Tour teams just showing their dominance there. Even on a road this wide, they've all rallied together to block it.
.30 seconds and going out. Still possible, still not quite over yet. Despite the best intentions of those World Tour teams, going up though, 36, 37 seconds, and now you are already in that kind of territory where it's almost a forlorn possibility of a counter-attack. Well, there we go. Right on cue, Can Farmer with a two-up attack.
Once again, immediately marked by Bora-Hansgrohe, Ineos Grenadiers, Jumbo-Visma.
Fernando Gaviria getting involved again.
So look at that, 4 World Tour teams. It's marking that two-up attack. But look, it's forcing that some splits behind. Wout van Aert going across.
Uno X with 3 riders trying to get across to the front of the race as well, because this, at the very least, what Can Farmer are doing with these 2 riders on the fronts now, it's brought it back again to 30 seconds from 38 seconds, so it's kind of reopened it again for Uno X. I would imagine Uno X will be the next team to attack. They've certainly got the numbers, or they're trying to get the numbers up at the front. There's a little split develops once again at the front end of the bunch.
Yeah, this is where they have to be vigilant, the World Tour teams, because you can't be complacent to this point. You can see the number of them up there. If they decide to get aggressive now, I think they could split things up quite simply.
3 riders from Uno X. I'm pretty sure they're going to be the next team to move. The Can Farmer duo are doing a really good job here. They brought it down to 24 seconds. Niels Pollitt moves across. And Can Farmer persisting.
That's just a show of passive aggression there from Niels Pollitt. Can just roll up next to them while they're flat out.
Yeah.
Wout van Aert going himself, just following.
We've had one result already today. The first King of the Mountains of the day. 4 points for James Fouché, 3 for Harry Tanfield, who moves into second place in that competition. Abraham Stockman picks up 2 points. And from the bunch, Fernando Gaviria went over in first place. Welcome back. 1 kilometre to go to the intermediate sprint at Bouton. A little conversation there between Abraham Stockman and Harry Tanfield. And I wonder, there is a small cash incentive here, and that's something that might well interest them. James Fouché, I think, will just sit on the front here. And maybe we'll have a sprint between the 2 TDT guys, you never know, just to enliven things.
Well, you'd expect Fouché just to leave it to them.
Should do, shouldn't he?
It's not in his interest to disrupt the harmony when they have supported him in getting the mountains points.
Harry Tanfield on the wheel of Abraham Stockman as they pass through 500 metres to go. Fouché drops to the back, and we're not expecting him to try and out-sprint the TDT Unibet riders. But you never know. He's just sitting on the wheels there. Doesn't look terribly interested, but he has got his... Interesting, he's got his hands on the drops. So too is Harry Tanfield's. They might well just roll through here, David, I think.
Yeah, I have a feeling.
Stockman still on the front. Looking round, Tanfield.
Token sprint.
Token sprint and a little smile. And Harry Tanfield drifts across the line of the only intermediate sprint. And Abraham Stockman celebrates his victory. James Fouché picking up second place, and Tanfield picks up another sprint. It's pretty harmonious stuff in that trio of riders with an advantage of 1 minute and 28 seconds through 90.2 kilometres to go. Now, there's only 4 kilometres until we get to the climb, which is a line of much more significance, at least for one of the riders at the front, and it's Red Hill Lane, the second and final categorised climb of the day. It's only 1 kilometre in length, the average gradient 2.3%, but it's important for James Fouché just to wrap up the 4 points, win the climb, and justify his presence in the breakaway of the day, which he's quite deliberately targeted. These 2 Cat 3 climbs unopposed. He should be able to pick up a total of 8 points on the day to extend his advantage to really something really quite significant, even though there's plenty of climbing still to come on the final weekend. He is building up a decent buffer now. Now then, Wout van Aert has drifted up on the left-hand side of the peloton alongside Jos van Emden. Having a little chat with him. 1 minute and 30 the time gap. And Van Aert looks like he might be interested in the sprint here, just to snaffle himself a few points. Yeah, he just takes a few points there, or rather ensures, I don't know really. He was just there, wasn't he? This was the official result of the sprint, the cottages.com sprint. Harry Tanfield over the line in first place. But the name of note there is Wout van Aert, who picked up 4th place and 3 points and moves to 33 points. Relative, of course, to his teammate Olaf Koy, who's on 75 points and in the lead of the points competition. On to the climb then. It's the climb of Red Hill Lane. It's not long. It's not particularly steep as well, as you can see, as a long, flat, straight section of road leads to the top, in inverted commas, of the Category 3 climb of Red Hill Lane. 1.05 metres at 2.3%. James Fouché at some point will dart out and just roll across that line in first place and pick up 4 points. I have no doubt about that. And behind them, Jos van Emden is just holding that time gap very constantly now at around about 1 minute and 20 seconds. Same 2 riders, Steven Kruijswijk and Jos van Emden, working with Movistar, and DSM taking second and third place in the line of teams, all in block order, with Uno X also looking very disciplined there. Sitting on the wheels of the DSM riders. So 500 metres to go for James Fouché. Caught in the middle of those 2 TDT Unibet riders. All he needs to do now is just come off the wheel of Abraham Stockman. That was Briggsy, wasn't it? Graham Briggs. Pretty sure it was, Yorkshireman. Recently retired pro, who, along with Ed Clancy, runs an organisation that teaches kids how to ride bikes in primary schools. And this is the steepest part of this climb, of an average of 2.3%. It ain't Alpe d'Huez, it's Red Hill Lane, and it's a job very well done for James Fouché, who made his presence in that breakaway look incredibly easy, following all the moves that mattered, and occasionally working on the front as well. He did it, and he signs off for the day. Is that him dropping back?
Yep, that's it, done.
Absolutely no need to go any further. He knows that this breakaway isn't going to the line, and he says goodbye to the TDT Unibet riders. In a litter zone, he can drop these little bits and pieces, and he is clocking off for the day and will drop back to join his teammates in the peloton. Well, the bunch is making their way up to the top of the climb. Kruiswijk and Van Emden. Pretty soon they will be picking up James Fouché, who quite wisely, quite understandably, has used that almost literally as his finish line. Obviously he has to finish the stage, but he has added another 4 points to his tally and picked up, for the second successive day, he's picked up 8 points with 2 Category 3 climbs on the routes both of stage 3 and of stage 4, and it's the end of his third presence on a breakaway in this Tour of Britain. Over the top goes the bunch. Time gap's come down a little bit, actually, 1 minute and 12 seconds. And there's only 2 riders who are riding at the front of the race now. And imminently, they're going to catch and pass James Fouché.
And that has simplified matters all the more for Jumbo-Visma. 2 versus 2 now.
Yep. Well, we saw what happened. James Fouché took the climb and then promptly sat up. Cluster of supporters passing through this village. And there's Stockman and Tanfield. And that's all that remains, effectively, of the breakaway. From around about 50, 45, 40 kilometres to go, that's where, if it is going to get lively, we might see a bit of action.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. I think if there is any action like we saw yesterday, it will be deep into the last hour. Because if anybody wants to make efforts in the final part of the race, they want to make sure it's an effort they can take to the finish line. And I think that does mean you need to be inside the final 40 kilometres and even closer, inside 30 to go, I think.
I was thinking about the 3-up St. Piran attack yesterday and how they must have decided on that tactic and then, interestingly, executed it, because they would have got themselves into a position where they were ready to launch, you know, further up the bunch, but then they would have had to wait for the moment and read that really carefully.
Well, what I found interesting in the post-race interview from Olav Koy was the fact that Jumbo-Visma had been planning to try a move around that exact spot as well. So at first we thought it was Jumbo-Visma just shutting it down aggressively, but they'd actually already been planning to make a move there. So it was something that perhaps it's where St. Piran saw that the race was going to activate and they decided to get on the front foot. So I think what Olav Koy said is like it was a smart move, not just because of that, because it meant if it did split up behind, they'd have found themselves in the front group.
Just confirmation then of the result at the final categorised climb of the day, James Fouché, as we kind of knew he would when he got in the breakaway of the day, picking up a second dose of 4 points and adding 8 to his tally at the end of the day, assuming he finishes.
Welcome back. Just inside 30 kilometres to go, a lone attack from the Bingol team forced a reaction from the peloton, and that in turn meant the 2 leaders in the breakaway were finally reeled in. The peloton is all back together as we rejoin the closing stages.
Playing out perfectly for Jumbo-Visma so far. Still able to use Jos van Emden.
Yeah, and that's keeping Eduardo Affini and Nathan van Hooijdonk fresh and out of the wind, and they're going to be the next riders that will be used by Jumbo-Visma. But it's a controlled pace now at the moment.
But yeah, this is perfect because it means that they have Jos van Emden. They don't have to use Affini. The longer this goes on, the more chance they have of nailing their lead out again.
Oh, what an opportunity this is for Olav Koy to make it 4 wins in 4 stages, which I'm sure you would have had significant ambition and a lot of well-founded optimism going into this race. But if you'd said to him at the beginning of the race, you'll win the first 4, he would have taken that. I mean, this could be a really stunning achievement for Olav Koy if he pulls it off. And a lot of that will depend on how well this Jumbo-Visma machine functions. It's been flawless to this point. And at the moment, they have ridden this race to perfection and have their man exactly where they want him, with the right rider on the front, and their resources are have been perfectly marshalled and not put under the same stress that we saw on stage 3. And he is a cool customer, Olaf Koy, and reacts and lives with the pressure that being Jumbo-Visma's leader brings with it.
And that will be the interesting thing today. If the lead out does fall to pieces, there's no reason why Olaf Koy can't still win. And that would be almost more rewarding for him, I think.
Yeah.
Not as easy, but if it does start to fall apart, which is what the objective for the other teams is to try and break up that lead-out train. Because if they don't, they're essentially handing the victory to Olaf Koy.
And the great sprinters have always been able to do that. Mark Cavendish started his career having the ultimate lead-out, didn't he, in the HDC Columbia days? But subsequent to that, he's never quite had that kind of service since, and don't win as many bike races as he has without being able to improvise brilliantly.
And you have to remember, almost all sprinters start out without a lead-out. That's how they earn a lead-out. It's you have to have it in you to be able to win on your own amongst the craziness of the peloton.
So the road widens out now, and finally they can breathe. It's been constricted, hasn't it, beyond belief. So the road doubles in width, and that allows Uno X to surge up the middle and position themselves right in the heart of that bunch towards the front. Bora Hansgrohe, who we expected to really take it up as well, all over the place at the moment.
They are. It's this is not how they beat Jumbo-Visma, that's for sure.
Movistar adding 2 riders to the front of their train, so they've got the entirety of their team on the front now. And Movistar it is who take it up for Max Kanter. 7k to go.
Only 4 kilometres to that critical point, and still they're all holding back.
Yeah, there's a sense of just pent-up energy in this group. Uno X alongside TDT Unibet.
Ah, penny farthing of sheep.
That's fantastic, isn't it?
Yeah.
Hats off to that. That is
brilliant.
An ingenious bit of land art. As you say, David, it is literally a penny farthing of sheep. There's no other way to describe it. Brilliant. Meanwhile, back in the race, we've got Movistar alongside Uno X, TDT Unibet, Jumbo-Visma, Bolton Equities Black Spoke just dropped back a little bit as Bingol, with one isolated rider, finds the Bora Hansgrohe train on his wheel. So they are getting organised there, those green and black jerseys alongside Ineos Grenadiers. There they come. If the camera shot just widens out, you can see 1, 2, 3 riders, including Sam Bennett, and right at the bottom of your screen in that light green jersey, that is Danny Van Poppel, as Trinity move up in the middle.
Niels Pollitt has made it to the wheel of Danny Van Poppel, I think.
There's an attack. One of the remaining TDT Unibet. Oh, just getting to his team, yeah.
Trinity have their entire team.
Good show from Trinity. Bob Donaldson or Luke Lamperty, which is it going to be today? It was Donaldson yesterday with a top 10 finish for him to match Lamperty's top 10 of stage 2.
This is where you can see the experience of Jos van Emden. He is not panicking at all. He is holding back as long as possible.
And David, the advantage of picking one side of the road as well.
Yeah, that's exactly what you can see the 2 big teams have done, knowing that if they hold that side of the road, they only have to deal with a bunch of riders coming up on for the Jumbo-Visma on their right shoulder, for Ineos Grenadiers on their left.
Trinity Racing, very organised from them. Great Britain a little bit more scattered around, and Bora Hansgrohe just playing a cautious game here and waiting. They have got their riders where they want them. Danny Van Poppel has got the wheel of Sam Bennett and Ryan Mullen. But they are prepared at the moment to allow Trinity, Ineos, Uno X, etc., Movistar as well, to set the pace on the front. And they're going to come with a later surge.
Yeah, any moment now they're going to have to surge. But look, they're breaking up again. They're trying to find each other, Bora Hansgrohe. They're running out of road now, 5.1 kilometres. Remember, it's Justin's 3 kilometres to go is where the lead-outs have to be going in first.
5 kilometres to go on stage 4. Is it going to be the Koy show again? Well, so far Jumbo-Visma have ridden it once again to perfection. There they are with Eduardo Affini and Nathan van Hooijdonk, and then Wout van Aert. Still Jos van Emden on the front, and then Olaf Koy. So they've still got Affini, still got Van Hooijdonk. Neither of those riders have put their nose in the wind yet, and you're absolutely right, David. Jos van Emden, I think a flick of the elbow, an agitated flick of the elbow now, and he is done. Jos van Emden finally hands over to Nathan van Hooijdonk. Meantime, though, Martin Brugger takes it up for Uno X, and Movistar still have the very front of the race.
Bora Hansgrohe completely out of position. Niels Pollitt there, just surrounded by riders, no way to get out at the moment. Ineos Grenadiers in prime position. Trinity, first time we're seeing them unified at the front, coming into the sprint.
Shouting instructions there, the young riders from Trinity Racing, under 23 riders riding today, I think, possibly for Luke Lamperty or Bob Donaldson. Not sure which way it's going to play out for that team as they hit the front. 4 riders from Trinity Racing on the left-hand side of the road, 4.1 kilometres to go. Around about 1.5 kilometres until the critical moment where they take on 2 left-hand turns and it'll all get strung out. As now, as they drop down and Fernando Gaviria tries to reassert control from Movistar, it starts to really light up.
Bora Hansgrohe have gambled, but they're nearly in the right position, but they keep getting broken up. They have done through that corner. Jumbo-Visma as well.
They took the long way round there, Jumbo-Visma, and Olaf Koy dropped about 8 or 10 places, and they're going to have to come late now, Jumbo-Visma. Ineos Grenadiers with Tom Pidcock right up at the front, and still Trinity Racing in the mix there.
Yeah, now this is the test. Both Jumbo-Visma and Bora Hansgrohe on the back foot. Ineos Grenadiers in perfect position. Trinity Racing have done a great job there in prime position, coming up to that critical moment at about 2.7 kilometres to go.
So, Trinity Racing in control. Ineos Grenadiers looking very, very harmonious. There's Nathan van Hooydonk, but if he looks around, Wout van Aert has moved up on the left-hand side of the road with the race leader looking for a little bit of a gap on the left. So they're back there, but they did have to come from a long way back.
Bora Hansgrohe have gambled, but have managed to fight their way through. Edith Skelling on the front. They're there, so Danny van Poppel had to hop up onto the pavement to hold the wheel. They are lined up, but Ineos Grenadier give them a run for the money now. I'm not sure Edith Skelling can do much more, but they're coming into this corner section, and this is where Ineos Grenadiers have ridden that perfectly.
The mighty figure of Josh Giddings, the young British rider, now taking Ethan Vernon towards the front. Long way round for Bora Hansgrohe around that traffic island. Skelling out of the saddle and sprinting. Looks like there might be a bit of a wrong bit of gear selection there for one of the Bora Hansgrohe riders. And where is Van Poppel? There he is, Van Poppel, but Bora Hansgrohe having to take up having to come from a little bit further back, but look at the Great Britain team with Ethan Vernon perfectly placed.
Jumbo-Visma have Wout van Aert, Affini and Olaf Koy together just behind Ineos Grenadiers and the Trinity rider.
Luke Lamperty.
They're going to be dependent on Wout van Aert punching them through.
Lamperty is on the wheel of Tom Pidcock and the Great Britain team. Ethan Vernon alongside him. Martin Bugger is there from Uno X, and then it's Bora Hansgrohe now, trying to get Danny Van Poppel into the right place. Van Poppel picks the wheel there of Sam Bennett. He's at around about 10th place.
Van Hooydonk has found himself back up there, so now they're getting their formation back. Jumbo-Visma. And Olaf Koy is holding the wheel of, look at that, picking through there. Van Hooydonk, Wout van Aert, Olaf Koy.
Amazingly, somehow Jumbo-Visma hit the front at exactly the right time again, but it's going to have to be a long, long turn from Nathan Van Hooydonk here. 1.6 kilometres to go.
Olaf Koy has not got the wheel of Wout van Aert at the moment. Bora Hansgrohe are there, so they have, like they've done every stage, just about right, but this time it's Olaf Koy who's not on the wheel. You can see there he's coming around, trying to get back up onto Wout van Aert's wheel.
Casper Van Houten in the white jersey moving up, and there is Olaf Koy, still detached from the rear wheel of Wout van Aert. Coming up alongside Ben Turner now, and does he get onto Van Aert's wheel? It looked like he was perfectly placed as they sweep through that left-hander, and there he is, Olaf Koy, just about on the wheel of Wout van Aert, but fighting it tooth and nail to get there, with Luke Lamperty on his wheel.
There they go, they've done it. Jumbo-Visma have got their formation back. Luke Lamperty on the wheel of Olaf Koy. Bora Hansgrohe not getting the lead out that they would have hoped to do.
It's chaos behind in the wheels in around about 10th place, but look at the order that has been restored by Jumbo-Visma. They've done it again. Nathan Van Hooydonk looks around, checks. Wout van Aert is about to engage his lead out. Van Hooydonk hands over to Van Aert. Van Aert once again has Olaf Koy. Van Uden moves up in the white jersey alongside Luke Lamperty. Ethan Vernon is still in the mix. Fernando Gaviria has Max Canter on his wheel. At the moment, Bora Hansgrohe absolutely nowhere to be seen. There's Sam Bennett, but where is Danny Van Poppel? Bennett now might be sprinting after all. He's on the wheel of Max Canter, but still it's Van Aert, and still Koy waits to pull the trigger. 200 metres to go. Olaf Koy still has Van Aert on the front, and now he goes. Olaf Koy, Van Uden alongside him, Canter trying to get there, and they're finishing fast, but Olaf Koy hangs on and makes it 4, and they make it look so simple. It's ridiculous. What a lead out from Van Aert, and Koy has done what Edvald Boasson did in 2009 and dominated for a 4th consecutive win.
Well, that was brilliant riding from Jumbo-Visma. It was all falling to pieces, like it was for all the teams, but they managed to pull it back together. Here you go, you can see that's where Olav Koy has just managed to get back on the wheel of Wout van Aert. Luc Lamperty at this moment is in prime position, but as you said, look at the chaos behind that. That's why it's so important to have that lead out. Bora Hansgrohe weren't able to. Look at the Q36.5 riders come darting through. Lamperty, there he's still got the wheel of Olav Koy, but I'm not sure what happens. It's Ben Turner, I think, who's on the wheel of Luc Lamperty. There you go, there's Q36.5 rider coming up. Van Hooydonk just didn't have the legs, and that's where Wout van Aert realises he's going to have to take it early. That's at 700 metres to go, I think. So here you go, this is where Wout van Aert starts. You can see the riders, Movistar trying to position. Look at them flat out, trying to move up. Ethan Vernon sitting on the wheel there, looking good. I think that's Cantor.
Yep.
Cantor sitting there, and there's Sam Bennett. Again, in a good position at the moment, but Wout van Aert, this lead out is forcing everybody's hand. No one can move up. Look, they start sprinting. Olav Koy is the last of those riders to start sprinting. And at that point, it's not getting easier, but he still manages to take it to the line.
Oh, good finishing speed from Casper Van Uden, who takes a second place there, and Ethan Vernon shakes ahead ruefully, but he picks up another third place, the young British rider. What a sprint. What a lead out. Olav Koy the winner again, but Casper Van Uden in second place, pushing him close, and Ethan Vernon for a second consecutive day finishing on the podium in third. Ben Turner sprinting to 8th place, Sam Bennett made it 9th, and for the 4th day in a row, David Bomboy of TDT Unibet made the top 10. Olav Koy of Jumbo-Visma celebrates yet again on the podium as he marks 4 out of 4 victories. His race to this point, perfection, and as a result he continues to lead the general classification to Ethan Vernon, who moves up to second place. Wout van Aert is in 4th, David Bomboy moves up to 5th place, Tom Pidcock in 7th, Casper Van Uden makes an appearance in the top 10, and Gonzalo Serrano, last year's winner, is still in the top 10 at 9th place. All these riders locked together on time. Olav Koy of Jumbo-Visma still has the lead, of course, in the cottages.com points jersey. And James Fouché of Bolton Equities Black Spoke retains and indeed grows his lead in the Black Pinarello King of the Mountains jersey.
On the finishing straight right now with Team GB's Ethan Vernon. Great to see you, Ethan. Creeping up the GC all week. You're now sitting second and there, but not quite there with the sprint finishes. I know you've been a bit frustrated, but you're still doing great.
Yeah, my legs have felt quite good this week, and first time racing with the lads, so it's taken a few stages to get into each other's rhythm and working each other out. But I think, as you saw today in the last kilometres, we gelled really well today, and the team were really strong, and I was really impressed with them. Up alongside Ineos, Jumbo, Bora, and the last K is impressive. The strength, I think, from your team is really showing because, I mean, let's not forget, the other riders train all the time, they work on their sprints. You've had, no time to do that, basically. No, I've never raced with these lads before, and yeah, it's their first year like racing on the road in the elite category, some of them. So yeah, there's 19, 20-year-olds in there, how many 23? So yeah, we're a young group, but yeah, like I say, we're starting to gel quite well. And to be honest, today was my fault in the final, and the guys did everything perfectly, and yeah, I couldn't have asked for more from them. Do not beat yourself up. There's a certain man called Wout van Aert who's just delivering Olav Koy almost to 100 metres before the finish. Ethan, stay there for a second. We're going to have a quick look now at tomorrow's Stage 5 into and out of Felixstowe. Stage 5 combines the start and the finish in Felixstowe, one of Suffolk's most recognisable seaside towns, with a clockwise loop through the county's quintessentially British villages. At 192 kilometres long, this is the longest route in the 2023 Tour, but the relatively flat profile means it will again be a target for the sprinters. With the 2 King of the Mountains and the stage sprints taking place early on, the peloton will be able to find a fast rhythm as they head back towards the finish. The final 6 kilometres replicate the finale of the Women's Tour back in 2021 in front of 10,000 spectators. Ethan, we'll park tomorrow's stage there for a second. We'd be good to have a quick word about you and your career. I know you've been at Quick Step this year, you're moving to Israel Premier Tech next year, but also the track is a focus for you as well because, of course, the Paris Olympics are coming up. How's the preparation going? Yeah, really good. I'm excited for next year. I think I'll have some really good opportunities, and they're really supportive of my Paris ambitions. So it's a big year for us with Paris, and we won Team Pursuit last year at the World Championships. We had a bit of a disaster this year, but the time we were on for is, Olympic competitive. So we know we're close, and we know we can win the Olympics with the right prep. So yeah, all in for that next year.
Bring it home. Judging by your form this week, you're going to do the business. Really good to talk to you, Ethan. Have a great rest of the Tour of Britain. Now we're at the halfway stage.
Thank you. Thanks.
Good to see you. So do join us live tomorrow, 10:30 for the Felixstowe stage, because it's a slightly longer one, and then highlights at 9 p.m. on ITV4. Bye-bye for now.